As many of you are aware, buying a house is the most expensive it's ever been. It's also one of the hardest to get into if you're a first-time home buyer. And with that, there's a lot of expenses. And one of the primary expenses that most people have when they're buying a house is the home inspection. Today, I want to discuss, are home inspections worth it? Like, you're paying a lot of money. Do they actually do anything? So I want to have a conversation with you. This is all about my experience as a homeowner, home buyer, and I also have, on the other side, I work in the construction industry, so I'm able to see the back end of these inspections. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Leave some comments below. Let me know about your experience, and then let's start a dialogue, because I think the more we talk about this, the more everything can improve and we can improve together. So let's dive into it. So one of the things that you're going to be doing when you're buying a house is getting the home inspected, right? In our area, the median home price is right around $400 to $450, give or take. It depends on the time of year and also what else is going on. It shot up high last year. Now it's kind of gone down a little bit, but it's also the winter, so it's a little bit slower season. So with that being said, we need to think about what is your most valuable purchase in your lifetime. Usually it's going to be your home. So if you're spending almost $500,000 to buy something, you kind of want to make sure that it's working and doing what it's supposed to do and is in decent enough shape. Now I know with COVID, everybody was waiving inspections and doing the as-is sales. Not the greatest idea, but sometimes you have to do what you have to do in order to get into the home. For sake of argument though, we're gonna say that you were able to get the inspection. You had a contingency period, maybe it's 7 days, maybe it was 14 days, or maybe it was only 2 days. You had your opportunity to get the home inspected. Now, you go to Google, you search home inspector, or maybe your realtor has a particular home inspector that they work with regularly. I'm a big fan of referrals, so if somebody's worked with somebody before and they say, hey, John does really good work, go ahead, stick with John. You're probably going to have a good time with him. You don't necessarily have to stick with our John for this example, but you want somebody who knows what they're doing and is trusted by others to help you navigate your big purchase. Now, what is a home inspection? Basically, it's somebody who hopefully has a license or has been trained in some manner, whether it's InterNACHI or whatever. They are going to basically look through the home and identify any major flaws. You will get a few who will detail every single little tiny piece, like missing caulking. That's good. Basically, the best way to think about it is a good inspector kind of gives you a punch list item of things to do, but also they'll let you know, hey, the roof's gotta go. You got a giant hole, or maybe you have raccoons living in the roof. A good inspector is not going to tell you need to do everything. They're going to tell you what's priority. You should get to it at some point, and then stuff that's like, hey, this is just cosmetic. Wear and tear, get to it when you get to it, but don't forget about it, because otherwise you might have some problems down the road. A home inspection could cost anything from a few $100 to even a few $1,000 depending on how big your house is. In our area, most of the home inspectors, they seem to charge by the square footage, so the larger your home, obviously the more time it's going to take, so you're going to have to pay a little bit more in order for them to either have enough time on your property or for them to bring a second person to help them with the inspection. With that being said, you're spending a lot of money and paying this guy for a lot of his time and knowledge. The best way I like to think about this is think about it kind of like a GP for your doctor, right? Your family doctor, you go to them once a year, you do your annual checkup. They make sure everything's doing what it's supposed to do. No pieces are broken, nothing obvious is happening, but there are going to be times that they miss some stuff. Now, we don't want our particular home inspector to miss anything, but they will, right? They're humans, it's what's going to happen. There also may have been something that they may not have been able to see, but we'll kind of cover a little bit about the negatives. So you have your home inspector. They're basically your general practitioner. They're going to let you know, like, hey, roughly what's going on in the home and what should you be aware of / what should you be looking for. Not every first-time home buyer has ever had to maintain a house. Not every current homeowner ever took care of their home. Maybe you're going from a new house to an old house. Maybe you're doing the opposite. There's a variety of things that can happen in somebody's life, and the home inspector is there to kind of give you some general guidance. Now, there are going to be some times where you want to consider somebody who's more of a specialist. Let's just say your chimney, right? That's an obvious one. Termites, maybe your inspector does that. Wells, septic, any of those things, you usually want to get a specialist because it's a little bit more involved. And in some cases, some counties or states may require a license in order to do that inspection. A prime example of this is in the state of Maryland. In order to inspect a septic system, you have to be state licensed. Baltimore County, if you want to inspect a well, you have to be a master plumber or a well driller. Not just anybody can show up and test the well. So that does limit some of the capabilities of the home inspector. In our area, the home inspector is usually pretty forthcoming about that. If they're not licensed in that category, they usually just say, hey, I can't do that. Here's my preferred vendor. Go ahead, talk to them. They should be able to get you in the right ballpark of what's going on and the associated costs. So you go through all this headache, you get your specialists, you get your general practitioner, you're taking a look at this house, and sometimes things go wrong. So why shouldn't you pay for a home inspector? Well, sometimes they actually will miss stuff, and some of them are not that good. When I'm looking for a home inspector, I want somebody who comes from a construction background. I want them to have built a house or worked on a construction site or in the process of building a house, so that way they have a general idea of how things flow when it comes to a home. Maybe they have a specialization and they can kind of at least navigate you through some of the other ones. In our area, it seems like a lot of the home inspectors are retired plumbers or electricians. That's usually kind of the trades I see them coming from. So the primary thing is what happens when they miss something. So when you're inspecting a house, they're only there for a few hours, maybe 3, maybe 4. If it's a big house, they might be there for a little bit longer. They're going to look for the high level stuff, right? And where I hear a lot of complaints about home inspectors, oh my gosh, they missed whatever. Let's just say, for sake of argument, that it's a deck, right? They're going to look at the foundation of the deck. They're going to look at how it's attached to the house. Is it attached to the house? How's it built? Are the railings correct, etc.? But they may not look at, are all of the boards situated, right? They might be walking around, it feels right, the boards look right, but you move into your home, you're there for 3 months, and then all of a sudden you realize that one of the boards on the back side of the deck is loose. Is it the home inspector's fault, or is it not? I would argue that it's not, and that's just because you're spending more time at your house, so you're more likely to find some issues, and you're going to find more mistakes that the home inspector missed, and that's just because of contact time. You're there for a lot longer than that person is. 3 hours versus 30 days is a big difference. How I can associate this to myself is when I moved into my home, there were a few outlets that were loose, right? I didn't hear anything about that in the home inspection report, but when I go to plug in the vacuum, guess what? The whole thing jiggles. Or we find that there's a couple tiles loose in the basement. There are things that get missed all the time, but it's all about how we handle it. Now, if it's something major that's obvious, let's just say that, for example, the footer for the deck is rotted through and there's nothing supporting the entire left side of your deck, well, obviously, that probably should have been mentioned and noted by the home inspector, so that's a problem. This is why it comes back to, I really, really think that if you're going to hire a home inspector, they should have some kind of construction background so that they know what to look for. And also, it kind of keeps them in the same realm that they're already used to, and they know, like, hey, I've seen a bunch of decks being built. I've never seen one being built that way. Let me investigate a little bit further and see what might be going on. So this brings us back to the crux of this conversation. Should you get a home inspection when you're buying a house? My response is yes, I think you should. Now, if you disagree with me, leave a comment below and tell me why. Why do you disagree? Why do you think you shouldn't get a home inspection for your house? But I think that you should get an inspection just so that way you get a third party, new set of eyes on the property who's not biased. When you're buying a home, there's a lot of emotions to it. Like, you're very invested in this house. You're about to spend a lot of money, so you're really hoping that it's a good home. Maybe you're anxious and you're trying to find a way out of the house. Who knows? But I think having the inspection helps at least give you an opportunity. Let's just say you want to back out of that house and the guy finds that maybe all of the toilets are leaking. Big issue. Not really, but it could be a problem. It could mess up the subfloor. It could do a lot of damage. But that could be your reason to back out of the contract and get you out of there. If you're under contract and you don't have a contingency, well, you find out the toilet's leaking. Tough luck. You either lose your earnest money or you buy the house. And that's a sucky situation to be in. So I think that having the inspection at least gives you an out, but it also can help give you an idea of what the condition of the home is and maybe what your punch list item needs to be for repairing of the home. If you disagree, leave a comment below, though. I'm very curious to see what kind of experiences you've had, what your thoughts are, and I think it's a fun conversation. But the only way that we improve everybody as an industry is by having conversations and talking with one another. If you enjoy videos like this or my content style, please hit that like button, hit subscribe. I have more videos posted every day on the entire world of homeownership, wells, septic, personal finance, etc. We're here to grow together, and I look forward to talking to you guys tomorrow.